Is this thing on? Welcome back to Big Mouth and fancy seeing you here. And welcome to Thursday's edition of the DCEU Daily, where we have lots to talk about. We've got Zachary Levi on Superman and Henry Cavill. And we'll be talking about the so-called scooper, Daniel RPK, who has become a bit of an enemy of the fans, unfortunately, because some people can never admit when they're wrong. So let's start with Zachary Levi, because he's been busy, he's been vocal, and yesterday he spoke to Collider. Now, we know Collider are not exactly the friends of the DCEU, but they just before they finished their little interview, they tried to trip Zach up about Henry Cavill and Superman and the future and what's going to happen. So this is what he said. I don't know what they said to him, but this is what he said, and I think this is brilliant. Well, but he's still Superman. He's still around to making another standalone Superman movie. Doesn't mean he's still not Superman, and doesn't mean he's still not killing it as Superman. Doesn't mean everybody doesn't still love him as Superman, right? Question mark. So let me just read that again, because I didn't read it great the first time. Well, but he's still Superman. He's still Superman. Just because they haven't gotten around to making another standalone Superman movie doesn't mean he's still not Superman. And doesn't mean he's still not killing it as Superman. Doesn't mean everybody doesn't still love him as Superman, right? Question mark. Right. So that's clarification there. For me, what does this mean? Now, first of all, it's the way he answered it so solidly. Obviously, he's been briefed by Warner Brothers and Walter Hamada what he can talk about when he's been interviewed. Now, when you go on something like Collider, it's a bit different to going on the Hollywood Reporter or the broadsheets or even kind of paper journalism, right? Because they're going to throw a perler at you and you've got to be ready for it. So Warner Brothers know what's going to be asked. Henry Cavill's future as Superman and the Snyder Cut. They're the big questions. They know. They're briefed what to answer. It's exactly how Jason Momoa answered about the Snyder Cut. And that's why I said that they told him he could answer that. Maybe it was even a set-up question. Maybe even this was a set-up question. But what it tells me is that Henry Cavill is Superman, and he's going to make another Superman movie, and he's going to have multiple appearances as Superman. As I keep on saying to you guys, and my mind hasn't been changed on that. This is massive. But let's look at this at another direction. If in fact this was a genuine question they asked to trip him up, Levi won, Collider nil. That's what I would say about that. What is the truth? The truth is, I think they want to get it out there that Henry Cavill is still Superman. I think that's what's going on here, and I think this is why this question was answered. So normally with Zachary Levi, if you actually tag him and you say something that's not true, he's going to tell you it's not true. So I think this is great news for the DCEU and everyone who loves Henry Superman, including me. He is Superman. He is going to be Superman. There's rumours coming out now he's going to cameo in multiple DCEU films, and he's going to be in appearances, at least another 3 or 4 appearances. Well, I don't know how many or how it all works out. He hasn't officially extended his contract. There's obviously issues there that have to be ironed out, and I think you can all understand and imagine after the way he was treated with Justice League, you can understand why maybe the contract's taken a while, because his image was used in a terrible way, and you know that hurt him. That could have hurt his career with the upper lip and everything that happened, and people gifting him and using him as a means to an end to get the Snyder Cut as well, which I've discussed with you guys before. So yeah, this is fantastic news, and I'm really excited. And I think that Warner Brothers wanted Zachary Levi to say this. He said it well. Well done, Zachary, and I'm really excited for Shazam. Right. In a minute, I'm going to come back and we are going to discuss Daniel RPK. The problem is with people like Daniel Richman, Daniel RPK as he calls himself, if you look at his Twitter kind of profile picture, we don't know what he looks like. I don't even know what it's of, but it's certainly not of a human being. So already I'm concerned Now, I found out about this guy through watching Chris Wong on the Ping Pong Flick. The Ping Pong Flicks is very early. Sorry, Chris. I love your channel, but yeah, that's how I found out about him, because Chris tells us a lot of things that he predicts, right? So let's look at this guy. So the other day he came out and basically he's an amateur scooper. He's not a real scooper. He doesn't work for any professional site or anything. He's an amateur scooper who's been right a handful of times. And once you're right a handful of times, you get away. You can get away with things, and kind of the consumer trusts you a lot more. So he predicted on Tuesday we would have a Shazam trailer. Now, for me, it's not the biggest crime in the world that he got it wrong. But the problem is he's set up a Patreon account because he's a scooper, and trying to get people to pay for that. I would say to anyone, I mean, I haven't got a Patreon account and I'm not planning on having one, even when I hit the kind of right sub count to do that. I'm not going to do that. I don't think it's right. I think everyone should be able to see your content for free, and it's as simple as that. If people want to do that, it's up to them to make some money if they're struggling. But for me, I don't like Patreon, and I don't pay for any Patreon. But this is stupid. Anyone who pays for a Patreon account from a guy who doesn't even post his picture on his Twitter account is bloody stupid. What's this got to do with the DCEU Daily? Everything. This guy, gives many scoops about the DCEU. So it's important to talk about this. So let me read out to you what he said on Twitter to defend himself. Then I'm going to tell him some home truths. Didn't get the date. I will own this fact. It happens. Trailer was delayed. I know what a certain someone said, aka David F. Sandberg, but same one was also untruthful on multiple stuff regarding his film. Basically, he's calling David F. Sandberg a liar. Same thing happened with Avengers and Spidey. I will get it right next time. That's basically saying, sorry, sweetheart, that we didn't have good sex last night. I promise you my boner will be bigger tonight. And it never is, right? And he keeps on having to take Viagra. Yeah, basically, if anyone who gives this lad money is an idiot, especially he's called a wonderful guy like David F. Sandberg a liar. David is beautiful to us fans, very respectful. The fact that he even responds to some of us and likes some of our stuff and wants to give us honest and true information, and that told us, look, there's no trailer. What has he actually lied about? So doing basically, Daniel RPK, you come out. You've admitted you're wrong. Well done, because it's blatantly obviously you're wrong because the trailer wasn't there. But then to insult David F. Sandberg, sorry. I hope you lose all your subscribers. I hope you lose all your followers and nobody ever believes you again. This is what happens, right? You got it wrong, mate. Come out, say you're wrong, move on. Don't start attacking a freaking creative. That's ridiculous. He hasn't even done anything to you. He just said what you said wasn't true. And all he said is, maybe you should follow official sources rather than believing any Tom, Dick or Harry. He didn't exactly say that, but that's what he meant. Anyway, he goes on. Also, before anyone will start with their idiotic claim, I got those dates right, giving thousands of dates or whatever, and if that was true, I would have just gave you every single day for the week until I was right. Wasn't the case. I gave one day in a week. He goes on. I got Lion King, Artemis Fowl, Captain Marvel, Men in Black and others on the first round. No delays. Got Avengers 4 with the second date. Yeah, the second date, mate. I gave after it was delayed one time. Oh, delayed was it? Not that you got it wrong. Same for Spidey. Shazam is the longest so far with 2 delays. There's no delays, mate. You got the dates wrong. People don't delay trailer releases. It's obvious, right? It's obvious what the dates were going to be, and I should have thought of that myself before I told you guys about the information that was released. Right, so what happens here is David F. Sandberg actually replies to this tweet and says, curious, what's this certain someone has been untruthful about? So he's asking him what he's accusing him of lying about. Now, obviously, Daniel RPK is not expecting David F. Sandberg, but it's David F. Sandberg and all creatives and actors in the DCEU now seem to be linked into they seem to be able to reply to things, even if they're not hashtagged. So basically, yeah, basically that's it. That's what he said. Right. So what is Daniel RPK? How has he even been right about certain scoops? Well, there are people who hack certain people's internet, and they're an echo chamber. And he might not be a hacker. What he probably does, he probably hasn't got sources, but he's got a way of hearing echoes of information on the internet, and then he repeats it. But what happens is, it looks like what's happened with this, someone's purposely given him wrong information to repeat, so he can look like a twat. That's what I'm suspecting. Someone's decided it's time to do away with you. Maybe even the studio leaked false information. They do it all the time. And he's tripped himself up here. And I mean, especially going after a creative like David F. Sandberg, you know, very few directors actually talk to people on Twitter. You know, and David F. Sandberg's brilliant. He's a great guy with great humour. He's a very talented director. And I think to go at him just because you've been caught with your pants down is a bit stupid, Daniel. When it's over for you, no one's going to trust you as a scooper. And I would say anyone who's paying into his Patreon account, you know, re-up your bank, stop the direct debit, or however it works these days. Just don't do it. So, yeah, that's all I've got to say about that. But I think it's important because this is very, very important towards the DCEU because so much nonsense comes out about the franchise that we love. And I think it's important to echo some of these things that come out, as I do here. But I always tell you to take it with a pinch of salt. I don't know nothing as a fact. I hear things, I do videos on them, because I think the fans have got a right to know. But it's important you understand from the off. As I always say to you, take it with a pinch of salt. So yesterday I did a video, I'm sure you all watched it and I hope you enjoyed it, where basically multiple media sites are now, they've been behind the scenes of Shazam and they posted their articles. They're now allowed to post their articles. It's amazing how spoiler heavy those articles were. The one I read was quite spoiler heavy. I mean, it told us what happens in the opening sequence, which I find very, very important. So, and this is the part of the show where we go into spoilers, so you'll have to go. I find it very interesting and I found it very interesting, and I find it very interesting that the opening sequence of Shazam is Dr. Sivana as a child. And I think there's a theme running here, isn't there? There's a theme of children on their own, you know, having to survive on their wits. Children who have been left behind by their parents for one reason or the other. And Dr. Sivana's case is quite extreme, and that's why he becomes a villain. Or, not so a villain, he's actually got a good reason for doing what he's doing. And I'm gonna be talking about villains who have got a good reason for doing what they're doing. I'm definitely want to do one about Thanos and General Zod in Man of Steel. Were they right or wrong? But I don't want to go into that right now, because this is the DCEU Daily. So, yes, I find it very interesting, the amount of focus that with this film that goes into Dr. Sivana. And I think it's great. I want to see villains focused on. I don't want to see moustache-twirling villains with no depth. But I also don't want to see the MCU-type villains, apart from Thanos, of course, who was awesome, that are just there. They don't even twirl a moustache. You know, if you're not going to do anything, you might as well twirl a moustache. But no, yeah, I do like my villains like Zod and the Joker in The Dark Knight. These. I mean, WB and DC have now got a good reputation for villains in CBMs, and I'm really excited for all of you to see Shazam. So, I nearly forgot again. A couple of days ago, I nearly finished a video without telling you this. So, a couple of days ago, Patty Jenkins did an interview. I can't find it, but basically she spoke about the return of Steve Trevor. And she said it's very logical, it makes sense. And she actually had this plan with Steve Trevor as she was directing the first Wonder Woman. So basically she said it's going to make sense, it's going to make logic. Now obviously she's come out now and said this. This is yet another DCEU creative making sure the liars and the scoopers don't get away with anything. I mean, a few months ago Grace Randolph spoke about Wonder Woman doing a kind of Flashpoint thing. Whether that's true or not, but no one should underestimate the delay in the release of Wonder Woman 1984. Something is going on. They are changing something. Now, I don't know what that is. Maybe it has something to do with Grace's scoop. Maybe, I don't know. If Grace's source was telling the truth, if Grace was telling the truth. We never know in life, do we? I hope Grace is a truthful person, I really do. But if Grace is telling the truth, maybe when they saw the reaction to that, they thought, we can't do this, we have to find another way to bring him back. But they could already have a plan, which I have faith in Patty Jenkins and Jeff Johns, that they already had a plan. And the way they bring him back is awesome, is epic, because literally Grace Randolph's source told her that Steve Trevor's in somebody else's body, which would be odd. But plus, if Steve Trevor's in somebody else's body, how do we see him? Or is it a ghost situation where, you know, Sam Wheat jumps into Whoopi Goldberg, but then we actually see Sam Wheat? So who knows? It's very confusing. But basically, Patty Jenkins confirming that the return of Steve Trevor was planned out from the first Wonder Woman, that it's going to make total sense, and for the fans not to worry. And she says the 80s is not just going to be like a funny 80s. She spoke about the 80s being a very creative time where people could do anything. Yeah, remember that, when we could do or say anything. We can't anymore, unfortunately. We get strikes on our channels, don't we, YouTube? Anyway, only under 3 months to go till my strike goes, so I better behave myself, right? Thank you for watching, fellow DCEU fans. I'll be back tomorrow with another DCEU Daily. Please like and subscribe, and I shall see you tomorrow. Unless you watch my other videos, which I'm doing plenty of today, then I'll see you later.